Hello, and welcome back to another deep dive. It's really great to have you with us.
It is.
We usually spend a lot of time on this show digging into the what. We look at history, tech trends, big economic shifts, that kind of thing, the substance. But today, we're pivoting a little.
We are.
We're going to look at the vehicle that carries all that substance. We're looking at language itself.
It's a bit meta, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
We're using words to talk about words. But specifically, we're looking at a stack of source material on a very specific, very high-level concept, mastering the excellence of Oxford Standard English.
And I have to admit, when I first saw that title in our research pile, I had a bit of a reaction.
I think most people do.
Yeah, I think a lot of people hear Oxford Standard English and they immediately picture, a guy in a tweed jacket sitting in a dusty library.
Sipping tea with his pinky out.
Exactly. It feels a bit, antiquated. Or maybe just decorative.
And that's the common misconception, right? We tend to conflate standard English with a specific accent, usually received pronunciation, that posh British sound.
Right.
But the source material we have today is actually stripping away the accent. It isn't interested in how you sound, it's interested in how you structure your reality.
That is a big distinction. So we are not here to teach anyone how to do a fake British accent.
Definitely not, no. The argument in these texts is much more practical. The source posits that this specific form of English, which it defines very, very strictly, is a technology. It's a tool.
A tool?
And the core argument is that mastering this tool isn't just a nice bonus for your resume. It is, and I'm quoting here, essential.
Essential. Wow, that's a heavy word.
It is.
It implies that without it, you're missing a pretty fundamental piece of the puzzle. And the text links this essential skill to three huge areas: global communication, professional growth, and academic excellence.
The big three.
Basically, if you want to play in the big leagues in any of those arenas, you need the specific gear.
Exactly. The premise is that there's a ceiling to what you can achieve with, say, casual or broken English. And to break through that ceiling, you need to upgrade the operating system.
Okay, so before we get into the benefits, the global, professional, and academic stuff, we have to define our terms. Because Oxford Standard English sounds fancy, but what does it actually mean? The source gives us a definition that relies on two very specific phrases. It says this standard is highly polished and grammatically precise.
And those two phrases are the DNA of the whole argument. Let's take them one by one because they're doing different things.
Okay, let's start with highly polished. It's an interesting metaphor to use for speech. When I think of polishing something, I think of, removing dirt or making it shiny.
Well, think about it in terms of physics. What's the difference between a raw rock you pick up in the driveway and a polished gemstone?
One's smooth, one's rough.
Right. The difference is friction. A raw rock has jagged edges, it's rough, it catches on things. A polished stone is smooth, it creates zero resistance.
So applying that to language, friction would be what? Stumbling over your words.
Stumbling, yes.
Yeah.
But also filler words, the ums, the ahs, the likes, the you-knows.
The things I do all the time.
We all do. But they're jagged edges, they're little speed bumps that the listener's brain has to drive over. Every time you say, you're asking the listener to wait. You're creating a tiny moment of cognitive friction.
That's a really interesting way to frame it. I usually think of filler words as just a bad habit, but you're saying the source views them as actual obstacles?
The source views highly polished speech as a curated product. It implies that the speaker has done the work so the listener doesn't have to.
Okay.
If I speak in a stream of consciousness, just tossing out words and they come to me, I'm forcing you to sort through the mess to find the point. If I present a highly polished sentence, I've already done the sorting. I'm handing you the point on a silver platter.
So polished is really about efficiency and, I guess, courtesy to the listener. It's saying, I value your time, so I'm going to give you the clean version.
Precisely. It is about intentionality.
Okay, so that's the polish. Now let's look at the second half. Grammatically precise. Now, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
In the real world, in just casual conversation, we break grammar rules all the time, and we understand each other just fine. So why does the source insist on precision? Why isn't good enough actually good enough?
Because good enough relies on context.
What do you mean?
Well, if we're sitting in a room together and I point at a table and say, hand me that, you know what I mean?
Right.
The grammar is lazy, but the context does all the heavy lifting. But the Oxford Standard is designed for situations where you might not have that shared context.
So it's about making the language stand on its own 2 feet.
Yes. Precision means removing ambiguity. It means constructing a sentence where there is only one possible interpretation. Think of it like a legal contract versus a handshake.
Ah, okay.
A handshake is friendly, but it's vague. A contract is precise. It defines exactly what happens when and how.
I see. So grammatically precise isn't just about pleasing some teacher with a red pen.
Not at all.
It's about structural integrity. It's ensuring that the subject, the verb, and the object are locked in a way that creates a crystal clear image in the listener's mind.
Correct. It eliminates the fog of casual speech.
So we have our definition. Polished means smooth and free of friction. Precise means structurally sound and unambiguous. Now, the source argues that this specific combination is the key to unlocking those three pillars we mentioned. Let's walk through those, because I think this is where the why should I care question gets answered.
Let's start with pillar 1, global communication.
This one jumped out at me because, English is already the global language.
Right.
If I go to a business meeting in Tokyo or Berlin or Brazil, chances are we're speaking English. So why does the source say we need this specific Oxford standard?
This is a fascinating paradox. The source argues that while English is the global language, colloquial English, the way native speakers actually talk casually, is terrible for global communication.
Wait, you're saying the native speakers are the problem?
Often, yes. If you use idioms, slang, or phrasal verbs, you're creating noise. If I say, we need to get our ducks in a row, and I'm talking to someone in Shanghai who learned English from a textbook,
They might be looking for actual ducks.
they might be. Or if I say, let's table this for now, in the US that means put it aside, but in the UK it can mean let's discuss it now.
Complete opposite meanings.
Exactly. That is a failure of precision. The argument here is that Oxford Standard English acts as a kind of neutral protocol. It strips away the local flavor, the Americanisms, the Australian slang, the regional quirks, and leaves just the core logic of the language.
It's like an ISO standard for communication. It ensures compatibility.
That's a great analogy. If you speak with polish and precision, you're using the version of English that is most translatable. You're using the standard vocabulary and the standard grammar that everyone agreed upon. So the source says that for global communication, this standard is essential because it's the only way to ensure the message received is identical to the message sent, regardless of the listener's background.
So it's about reach. If you want your ideas to travel across borders without getting mangled, you need to package them in this standard box.
Correct. It minimizes the risk of expensive misunderstandings.
Okay, so let's bring it closer to home. Pillar 2 is professional growth. Now, this is the one that I think affects most of our listeners directly. The source claims that mastering this standard is linked to career advancement.
This is where we get into the psychology of perception. The source suggests that in a professional setting, language is your primary interface. It's how you manifest your competence to the world.
But is that fair? If I'm a brilliant coder or a great accountant, why does it matter if my subject-verb agreement is perfect? My work should speak for itself.
Ideally, yes. But the source argues that in the reality of the workplace, grammatically precise language acts as a competence signal.
A competence signal?
It triggers a cognitive bias in the listener.
Okay, break that down for me.
When you speak with high polish, no ums, no likes, clear structure, you are signaling discipline. You're signaling that you've organized your thoughts before you opened your mouth. And the listener subconsciously assumes that if your speech is organized, your mind is organized.
And the flip side is true too, I assume. If I'm rambling and using messy grammar.
The assumption, often unconscious, is that your thinking is messy, or that you're careless. If you're sloppy with your words, might you be sloppy with the client's money? Might you be sloppy with safety protocols?
Wow, that is a harsh reality check. So the standard is essentially a uniform. You wear the suit to look professional, and you speak the standard to sound professional.
And it goes beyond just looking the part. It connects to leadership. The source emphasizes that as you grow professionally, your job shifts from doing things to persuading people.
Right.
You have to pitch ideas, you have to manage teams, you have to sell visions.
And you can't sell a vision if no one understands what you're saying.
Or if they're distracted by that friction we talked about earlier. Yeah. Executive presence that elusive quality leaders are supposed to have is largely built on clarity. A leader who speaks with the Oxford standard commands the room because their signal-to-noise ratio is incredibly high. They aren't wasting the audience's bandwidth.
I've noticed that in meetings. The person who speaks slowly, clearly, and perfectly grammatically people stop looking at their phone.
They listen.
Yeah.
Because that style of speaking implies authority. It implies, I know exactly what I mean, and I'm going to tell you. So, for professional growth, the text argues this isn't optional. It's the leverage you need to move from an individual contributor to a leader.
So, global communication is about compatibility. Professional growth is about authority and perception. Now we have the third pillar, academic excellence.
This one is the foundation. And I think this is the most interesting one because it touches on how we actually think.
So the source isn't just saying you need good grammar to get an A on your paper, it's suggesting something deeper.
It's suggesting that complex thoughts require complex language structures to exist.
That sounds like, isn't that a linguistic theory? The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis? The idea that language shapes thought?
It's a softer version of that, yes.
Yeah.
Think about academic work or high-level research. You are rarely dealing with simple blacks and whites. You are dealing with nuance, with variables, with causality, with degrees of certainty.
Right. You can't just say the economy is bad. It's too blunt.
Exactly. You have to say something like, the economy has contracted due to a confluence of supply chain volatility and inflationary pressure. To construct that sentence, you need the grammar that allows for subordination, for causality, for precision.
So the standard gives you the scaffolding to build a high-rise argument. If you only have casual English, you're trying to build a skyscraper out of mud.
It just collapses.
Yeah.
That's the argument. The source says that academic excellence is impossible without the tool of precise language, because you cannot communicate or even fully formulate a rigorous idea without the rigorous syntax to hold it together.
That is a huge takeaway. It means we shouldn't look at grammar rules as like arbitrary hurdles invented by school teachers. We should look at them as the architecture for logic.
Architecture for logic. I like that.
Cool.
And it explains why the source treats this as a triad. You learn the logic in the academic phase, you apply that authority in the professional phase, and you use the compatibility in the global phase. It's a unified system.
It really is a master key, isn't it? That's the vibe I'm getting. If you have this key, a lot of doors open. If you don't, you're kind of stuck picking the lock.
And the encouraging part of the source material, despite the highfalutin name Oxford Standard, is that it positions this as a skill, not a birthright. It talks about mastering the excellence. That implies it's a learned behavior.
That's an important point. You aren't born speaking this way. Nobody comes out of the womb using perfect subjunctive mood.
Exactly. It's a discipline. It's like learning to play the violin or learning to code. You have to practice the polish. You have to study the precision. It's accessible to anyone willing to put in the reps.
So let's get practical for a minute. If a listener is hearing this and thinking, okay, I'm sold, I want the authority, I want the clarity, how do I actually do it? What does the source imply about the how?
Well, based on the definition, polished and precise. The first step is audit. You have to hear yourself.
Oh, that's the worst. Listening to a recording of your own voice?
It's painful, but it's necessary. You need to identify the friction. Where are the ums? Where do you trail off? Where do you use a vague word like thing or stuff when you could use a precise noun?
So it's about editing your speech in real time.
Yes. And it slows you down initially. To speak with Oxford Standard precision, you often have to pause before you speak to assemble the sentence structure in your mind.
That pause is powerful, though. We're often afraid of silence, but a pause makes you look thoughtful.
It does. It signals that you're curating the output. And then reading high-quality text helps. Reading material that is highly polished and grammatically precise trains your brain to recognize those patterns.
So garbage in, garbage out. If you only read tweets, you'll speak in tweets. If you read complex analysis, you'll start to internalize those rhythms.
Exactly. You're retraining your neural pathways to default to the standard structure.
It's a fascinating deep dive because it really challenges us to stop running on autopilot. I mean, we speak thousands of words a day, but how many of them are actually crafted?
Very few. And the source argues that simply shifting that ratio, crafting more, rambling less, is the single highest leverage move you can make for your career and your intellectual life.
I love that. It turns communication into a craft. Now, before we wrap up, I want to zoom out one last time. We've been talking about how essential this is right now, but I have to ask. We're living in a world that is changing very, very fast.
You're thinking about technology.
I am. We have AI now. We have tools that can write emails for us. We have real-time translation apps. If I can just mull into my phone and an AI turns it into perfect, polished Oxford Standard text, does the human still need to learn the skill?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? If the tool can do the polishing for us, do we lose the need for the discipline?
Or does it make the people who can do it without the tool even more valuable?
I suspect the latter. Because remember, the precision of language is linked to the precision of thought. If you rely on an AI to clean up your messy language, you might still be left with messy thinking. The AI can polish the stone, but it can't choose the stone for you.
That is a great point. The act of formulating the precise sentence is the act of thinking. You can't outsource the thinking process.
Not if you want to be the one in charge.
Well, that is a provocative thought to leave you with. The tools might get better, but the need for a sharp, disciplined mind and the language to express it, that isn't going anywhere.
It's the ultimate human software.
Thank you so much for walking us through this. It has made me very self-conscious about every word I'm saying right now, but in a good way.
It keeps us on our toes.
It certainly does. And thank you to everyone listening. We hope this helps you polish your own communication stones. We will catch you on the next Deep Dive.
Goodbye, everyone. Speak clearly.